pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone to, if I can get everyone to take a look at your agenda, please, if we could get a motion to approve the agenda.
A motion, we approve the agenda.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Just a zero. All right, and then my computer's flashing at me, so we must have a just shut down. Okay. All right, I will take nominations for chair.
I'd like to nominate Chris.
Would you accept that nomination?
I'd accept that.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor of having Chris as your chair? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Carries 6-0. Chris, you are now the chair. I will turn it over to you.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to learn how to run the meeting then.
Well,
Should have paid more attention when Connie was doing it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, and then I guess we need to proceed to nominations for a vice chair. I suggest we stick with Frank. Then I will motion that are you cool with that, Frank? Yeah. All right. Then I will motion that we nominate Frank to be vice chair.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And do we have any nominations for secretary?
I'll nominate Tiffany to stay as secretary.
If Tiffany is okay with that, I will second it.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
So just before you go further, we'll be reaching out in the near future to all the new chairs, vice chairs, secretaries, as well as the new members. We're going to have a meeting once all the committees get set and have their new chairs, vice chairs, we'll have a meeting towards the end of the month, beginning of February, to kind of go over how you have access to the system for minutes and agendas and all of those kind of things, just so you know that that'll be coming. So, and then we'll go over some other guidelines for like, a Sunshine Act and those kind of things, so that you're all comfortable with how to handle your committees. So you won't be totally left without some guidance, is what my point is.
Fair enough. All right. I don't believe we're going to have any public comment for agenda items, as we do not seem to have anybody attending today. Do we need to do anything with that line item, or can we simply skip past it?
Well, you just want to make note that there was no one in attendance, so that it just, somebody doesn't think you ignored the possibility of public comment.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the November 28th meeting? Or do we need to review anything?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as they were written. November 28th.
I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 8 is land development review.
You don't have any at this time.
Don't have anything today? Well, then we will move on to Item 9, new business. And I don't know too much about either 9.1 or 9.2. But what discussion do we wish to have?
The 9.1, I submitted an application for the small spring house located across from the William Lewis House on Goshen Road.
Mhm.
It is owned by I believe they're called the Spring House Homeowners Association, which are all those homes that go up the hill.
Okay,
As part of the Lewis property, it figured prominently during the 1700s, during the Revolutionary War. It was thought that it was used by General James Potter and Major John Clark. So this property is very historic. It probably registers for the national. It meets the criteria for. And this spring house is part of it, and it was part of an agreement made when the homeowners bought the property. And I think I saw that Doug had asked for the township agreement at that time. But I don't know. I asked Doug if he ever heard anything back. The homeowners association had touched base with us several months ago, asking who was responsible for the spring house. We have documentation. We just needed to get the exact copies of that they do, that they had agreed to it. And of course, it's called Spring House. Well, I'd say the name is in their development. So that prompted me to file the application at that time because I wasn't sure what they were inquiring as
Okay.
to.
is this the little house close to the road, just
Yes.
just after the walking path?
Yeah.
On the right, okay.
And
Very
at the
close.
time, there were steps leading down to Goshen Road and PennDOT. They made an agreement. Apparently this is all on file and we're trying to find all the paperwork. And PennDOT removed the steps because they felt that that was somehow the roadway might be an impediment. So, that is why it's listed in our book that we voted on to, the properties that we voted on to, that were for approval for application. So it's in the book there. It's also in our tour guide. It's part of the, Lewis property along with Echo Valley
All right, so,
Farm and the Lewis House.
so we advancing,
Well, can I ask what numbers of criteria it meets? I don't see that on here. It's just so I can put that in the notes.
Yeah, well, get a copy. Do you have the copy of the back page?
It's, no.
If I have the back page attached to the front page, I don't have that piece that I put in there either. But it's pretty.
Yeah, you can see the back.
So number one, significant character, interest, or value, part of the development, heritage, or cultural characteristics of the township. The spring house is across the street from Echo Valley Farm and the William Lewis House. So it's not their property. It's part of the homeowners association property, those homes that are there.
The complex is being divided in 3 units.
Rosaria lives in one.
I live in one. It's 4111 Goshen Road, the original William Lewis house. And the barn complex, which is on the left, of, if you're facing the house, is now Echo Valley Farm. And there you have the major, the barn, the granary, the milk house, and the original hay house, all today readapted for the function. The spring house is across the street, and when the spring house lane was developed, it was deeded given to the development. At the time, you see some steps there. PennDOT had concern about the ingress and egress of spring house lane, looking at Goshen Road coming from east to west, and they want actually to take it down, but there was some opposition within the township and the residents. So the negotiation was just to remove those steps, which give access to a small little apartment on top. And there is even a fireplace in that little unit up there. At the bottom, there is the spring comes in, was a spring house. use it for refrigeration, you can still see the water flowing in and the original setup which was there. Lately, some of the windows are in status of disrepair.
Mhm.
Some of the windows came down, one windows on one side, they put some plexiglass. That's why probably they're asking who is responsible for
Yes.
that. So,
And we haven't heard. I didn't know if they followed up with.
and the roof, I guess, it would take.
Green. Green.
Your mic, just
Push the
make sure
button.
you turn it off, push the button on.
Then we could hear you.
So,
I can talk louder.
that's the story. That's the story in a nutshell. That's
Okay.
what is known about it. Okay.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So it's just an empty little building at this point?
It is, with a lot of history and going back to the 1700s. And the whole property is very historic, and that is one piece of it, so it just happens to be owned
So
separately.
you said that you'd put this forward to be,
I did, I had turned in an application
okay,
a while back.
so this is
It
something
just
that,
didn't come up in time for last meeting.
yep, so this is something we might talk on and vote on next meeting?
No, that's.
No, you voted, when we voted to, we should clarify, when we voted that all the properties on the list were
Mhm.
application worthy. You just want, I'm just telling you that I filed the application. It
Right.
could have been the homeowners association. I mentioned, I didn't know who to put as the address.
This is the
I have
hearing.
one
If-
homeowner who contacted us and I have
pre-hearing
that
will go to
email.
the board, So if anybody has
that's-
comments,
Um, they have an association,
Oh,
so
so
I
we have-
we just
put
need
it
a
on
motion.
paper.
We just need
Yeah,
a motion.
perfect.
And I can send her name if that helps. 'cause
Yeah, that
she-
would be helpful.
Yeah, and then maybe she contacts the homeowners and let them know.
It is though surprising that still listed as 4109 Goshen Road, which is on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
It used to be part of the complex, but I guess at the time before Springhouse Lane was developed, is my understanding, it was owned by the property across the street. And then from Sariso, a negotiation was made and this portion went with Springhouse Lane. But before was, if you look at the name on this chart, which is like Robert Barry, and he was the owner of Echo
Yes,
Valley
Robert Barry,
before Krusenberg bought and then has been sold again and actually is now listed again for sale. So probably the address or the number should be somehow changed because it's mislabeled with this address.
It is. It was hard for me to pinpoint that when I went to the
Right.
public access.
It should go with this, the Springhouse Lane development, so
Yeah.
whatever you wanna call it.
You say it probably doesn't have an address like we think of it
It doesn't,
typically because it's
No.
not,
Yeah.
it's not a.
it doesn't, just to bring it up. I mean, it's a detail, but
Yeah, it would be good to confirm that they are responsible for it because that roof probably could use.
Yes. Well, I think they see that it's in need of repair, but
Yes.
when you do go to when I looked it up, it's the media, public access, the owner is actually the owner of the, Echo Valley Farm. That came up as the owner of 31, or this address, what is it, 4109?
Well, 4109 brings up Echo Valley Farm.
Yes.
yeah, but
This
it's
is on-
not.
That's
Sorry.
the only, and that's on public access. When you want to look up the numbers or you want to look up anything, that's the only part I could get.
But,
They must have something.
but from what I've heard, there might be even some confusion within the residents of Springhouse Lane. Because it's very close to one of the homes there. And I think one individual has been using it to store some of the pool equipments. Because I've seen their diving boards or, the pool things.
They use it as their shed.
As a shed, so probably even people who, the 8 people, whatever is a Springhouse Lane, are kind of confused, who is there this person house, it belongs to the condominium of Springhouse Lane? Maybe they need some clarification to it.
So Doug, he did write me back. He found the filed declaration of the recorder of deeds. It requires the association to take care of the common facilities in the community, and the spring house and a pump house are specifically named. They are to be maintained in accordance with the conditions imposed by the township in their approval process. This document he doesn't have, but it might
Okay.
be filed somewhere.
We can get.
And he's gonna ask you, he says, I'm gonna ask if the township can make that available to us. Then they're required to repair and maintain them. So he found something. Then he went on, I won't go on. He's lengthy.
I'm sure it's in their declaration documents.
Yes, I'm sure. But as he points out, if there are no written legal restrictions on actually preserving it as opposed to demolishing it, then there would likely be nothing to stop them from demolishing the building.
Sure.
Because they're only responsible to maintain it. So that's why I guess he needs
Yeah.
the documentation of what the agreement was
Yeah.
with the town.
But I guess if you put if you nominate for class 2, then the process starts, right?
That would be included.
They will be included, then the process starts to protect it, and they have to
For,
come to
you're
the
doing the
town.
National Register for your property, the William.
Right, but
Lewis.
this might not qualify specifically for the National Register, but even a class 2 will be still under
Yes.
the guardianship of the township, right? Am I correct? So
Yeah.
that's fine.
For the purpose of today's business, do we want to make a motion to go ahead and forward this building?
You can, you did already when you voted this in, but that's okay,
no.
we can do it again.
No, I don't,
No, we
I don't
haven't.
think you made an.
We
I don't
didn't.
No, we just agreed that all the
think
applications.
we're
were
eligible to become before
We
you
just-
for you're doing your fact finding.
Our
Okay,
previous-
we can vote, but that is not my interpretation of what we
Our
voted.
previous agreement was just to make them all eligible to go through this process, be debated and then pushed forward.
Okay, I thought you all agreed that they met the criteria.
They do. meet
And
the
then,
cri-
so
they
that
do.
way, applications can be put in between meetings and the 30 days can start from the time.
Right,
of
but we
application.
still
we
have
still
to
have
do
to
the
discuss the
official.
You
Right,
still have to,
but
you
you
guys
can
still have
still
to do a
send the
fact gathering.
application. You could still send the residents notification.
Yes, yeah, we can
That
send
was the
it,
thing to speed
yes,
it up.
we can send the notice.
Well, where are we in the process then? Are we at the?
What
Yes,
I
I-
don't know is did the note, what I don't know because of the confusion on this one,
Yeah,
it was the HOA properly notified.
No.
And so if that was not done, we would need to notify the HOA properly. And then you could have your fact gathering with them. They need
then
to
we-
be at least.
You have to
invited the-
notify them.
And we
That
would
is
do
where
this
we're
again.
at. They should
Yeah,
be
let me-
notified
let
or,
me-
you know,
Okay.
Let's get
Make
that-
sure that
we-
they're
We
notified.
just have to
Let's
present
get
to the
that
public.
done. Let's get that done
then
and try to
vote.
get this on the agenda for next month.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know that we need any motion to do that. We can just move on to 9.2.
Mhm.
What are we discussing about 409 Ellis?
So 409 Ellis, was actually came into us at the township. This is, I'm trying to remember, I think it's the house that, if I recall, is the one that when you turn onto Ellis Avenue, you have the Goddard School. It's the house right next to the Goddard School.
Mhm.
It is a, you go back up to the letter, please. Thank you. It, under the National Preservation Act, they're notifying you that they're doing this study and it's an opportunity for you to weigh in on this particular, if you have interest in concern about, protecting the property and doing that. So I don't know, I don't remember if this one was on your list or not that you had looked at before. So anyway, this came to you because we received this letter. Once we received this letter, we sent it over to you.
So when I
House.
when I
It's not-
looked at it today, it was built in 1950.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not,
Just
I didn't think it fit in
Yeah.
my initial part, but I didn't know if there was something, because they sent this, I
Or
wanted
they
to.
think they're,
well, in the event, they have to cross their Ts and dot their Is
Yeah,
probably.
they
Yeah.
do.
yes,
So is this, in essence, they want to replace the existing pole with the antenna with a T-Mobile?
I think
Oh.
that's, yeah.
a T-Mobile antenna for
Yeah,
5G or whatever.
yeah, that's what I'm understanding is that they're wanting to put the antenna on top of that pole. I don't know if they're replacing the whole pole.
Well, it
or
looks like there is an antenna already from the images that they sent.
Yeah, but I think,
it's
I think
the
they,
antenna that they wanna,
I think they want to replace it.
Oh,
yeah. So it already exists. It's just a matter of this contraption at the end. It looks like they're,
So we're not looking
More
at the
features.
building, we're looking at the utility service.
correct.
Yes, I'm sorry, yeah, I forgot what this one all was.
I think they Notified the homeowners.
Much uglier than what's already up there.
Height 48 inches, 16-inch diameter, height,
The homeowners.
weight 56 pounds.
so this image is the pole which is already there,
Yes.
the one they provide.
Mm-hmm.
They could have provided a rendering of what it looks like with the new antenna. They won't have it.
I think if you go down, there's an image.
Maybe I'm missing it.
Yeah, it looks like it's on,
Existing pole looking things.
I don't know, page 5 of 8 to the right.
Drive by
There's
every
this
day and never
cylindrical
noticed it.
image.
Always putting us in the dark.
I think
That's
you're
what
just
happens.
replacing it with. But I, you know, the challenge is like, what kind of emissions are we going to be?
That's not a.
I mean,
I know.
visually
I don't
speaking, it
know.
looks like it's like for like.
Yeah, according to this rendering. And it says specifically that it's going, the height is 48 inches, diameter is 16 inches, and the weight is 56 pounds. So it's essentially looks like about the same
Yeah, I mean, I don't see,
device as there is now.
I don't see that it really has any impact either way
Right.
on any of the structures. I think if anybody were to complain about it, it would be the homeowner.
There are so many wires already there.
Yeah, yeah, it already exists. There's already something
I'm
there. I don't
assuming
know.
they sent that to the homeowner.
Yeah, I think that somebody got the impression that it was on the historic list and so therefore it,
Yeah,
and I,
it is
Did-
stone
Well,
fronted.
no. So the property that wasn't the Goddard School used to be a historic home. before They
Yes.
tore it down. So that's
Okay,
probably
maybe
where they
that's what
got
they
that
picked
from.
up.
House Grimm's house.
Yeah.
So, and that was, yeah.
yeah, so that may
guess,
be what they picked up.
I guess more an issue for the homeowner if they are concerned about microwave radiations or stuff like it, because this 5G has been highly debated the left and right about.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's not what we're gonna sit here. and
Yeah.
debate tonight.
But it's not our
You're
business
gonna have to
anyhow,
fight
so
that battle.
I mean,
not our business.
Ugh.
I'd rather them send us too many than not enough.
Yeah.
Do we wish to move that? this
I don't know that I
affect
think you
us?
have any
We
action.
don't
to
have
take.
any,
No.
I drive by it every day. I'll look at it. I haven't seen it.
Let us know
Last
what an
thing.
eyesore it is.
Never even
It's
noticed
so
it.
much bigger than the pole.
Unless they can bring us back the Ellis Grimm house, I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, then let's move on to old business. Do we have any updates to discuss on the historical ordinance and updates that may or may not be required?
At this point, what I would tell you is, we are starting to clean up some of the backlog of stuff that has been out there. Which will allow us to move forward with some of of these things that have actually are newer, believe it or not. I know you guys think they've been out there for a long time. And they have been, but there's stuff that have been out there much longer. And so we're starting to clean up some of that. So I would still think we're several months out, but that's where we are. We're still working at it.
And it has been, do we have those on record somewhere that we could
Yeah.
resend them out? But
I-
just to read
they're
the
in the-
exact wording
Did-
that we recommended.
They're in
Did we have a
the-
committee that was reviewing the ordinance, or were we all just sort of doing it with the idea that we would discuss it?
I think that was for the new year, but we had made recommendations for changes
Mhm.
to the ordinance.
a year.
And yeah, and then I just wanted to review those. If we had them, it's been so long. If we had them in writing, that we could send them out. So everybody can see.
Yeah, I mean, it might not hurt for you guys to just relook at it and make sure it's still what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'll add those to the notes.
Yeah.
For for the minutes, that just as a reminder of what they are.
Alrighty. And that brings us to the brochure update. Tiffany was good enough to mock something up so that we have a little more to look at and discuss than we did in the previous meetings. I think at the very least, we have enough to be able to pass this forward to somebody to lay out for print and
Yeah, if everybody approves the language, if there's.
Yeah, everybody should.
You
read it
had,
over.
you had a suggestion that I like on the alteration of historic properties. That I think is valid. You had said,
oh, you did get it.
you went to my spam.
Okay.
Historic Preservation Commission's job is to help manage change, not prevent it, and the commission, instead of make sure, reviews proposed alterations to historic structures for appropriateness
That's
and
good.
visual impact. So I'm gonna make those changes that you have there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't think that we could make sure of anything, so making it more of an advisory,
Well, you know, you like to be
Yes.
very,
very firm.
I have a
Sure.
question.
Yeah.
Could you write alterations, or additions? So if somebody's building an additional
Yeah.
structure, wouldn't you want to have some type of a review? Addition should just, like if somebody's gonna put a property of a different era next to a home built in 1700s. Is there any concern, or do you want any type of review of that?
I don't know that we have any purview over that, as it's wouldn't be on the historic property itself. Um,
Property you're considering is structure, not property overall.
the building itself.
And the
Yeah.
land it sits on, but not the neighbor.
Yeah,
No,
not
I
the
mean
neighbor-
adjacent land.
Yeah,
You
No.
mean if the
If they-
homeowner wants to subdivide there?
Somebody
it's
wants
where-
to build, no, if somebody wants,
To the house.
or if
In
they
addition
want
to the house, yes.
they want to
that's it.
build, I was just curious because I saw there's a new, with the next supervisors meeting or upcoming meeting there, somebody's looking to put a pool house or an art studio on a historic site, you know, or a home built in the 1700s. Do we ever look at that or just take a peek at what they're doing? Or is that something that's outside the? I don't know.
I thought they did have to get a permit if it was for their property.
Yeah,
Well,
that,
they're doing all that, but I'm just curious, does the
would
historic?
that come before us as part of the permitted process? If they're not on the class 2 resource list?
We haven't gotten
yeah,
any.
that would be a question. Do you know what house that was?
It was, one of my neighbors is doing an addition and I got a letter of, I think maybe 8 people on the 18th are doing something. There's actually 2.
Oh, so it's on the zoning hearing board?
Yeah, I was just curious. I'm sure they're doing a beautiful addition, whatever they're doing. The property looks very well maintained, but I was just
Well,
curious.
In fact, I guess I have to ask a question. Do we function as an architectural review board? I don't think so, right?
No,
So most township will have 2 layers, have this layer for this type of work we're doing. And then there is an architectural review board, which works with historical commissions to suggest or recommend what is, appropriate. Which it is not just the addition, even you have to change a roof, stuff like that. Some homes might have a slate roof and it's too expensive. They find solution that work with the homeowner to try to get most things reasonably done. Now, we don't have that, so I don't think this is we have a saying to that. It's left at the zoning,
Yeah, I mean, I think the outer limit of what we'll see is anything that directly affects anything on the class 2 list or on the historic proposed class 2 list, or anything maybe that's close, like this utility thing that we got because it was very close by to what was perceived to be an existing class 2 structure. So whether that house would fall into that, I think depends on what it is, where it is, and what its age is.
Well, even like for homeowners of those properties to know that there's a resource just to ask any questions of, that you may be able to help them if they are looking a certain direction. If they want to build a super modern structure next to an older property, they can do that. And I've seen a lot of properties done very well that, situate, both periods or multiple periods together. But I was just wondering if there's any conversation or just, with any of those properties.
Not unless it directly affects something that is on, on our historic resource
Well,
list.
So we've had situations with the Ellis properties with the
Mhm.
cottages where they wanted to make changes for businesses that are coming in to use those properties. So they've come to us for suggestions, recommendations, or if we had any concern with that, but that wasn't something we brought up. It was something that the township said, you know what, let's just run it by this Preservation Commission. So if it appears probably that the township says, you know what, this might be something they need to look at, then it would be brought to us, but I don't know that, again, unless it's on the class 2 resource list, that we could, put our 2 cents in.
So just because something was built in 1700 doesn't mean it's on the list.
Nothing is on the list yet.
Nothing's on.
That our
Right.
ordinance, probably, this is the background I was gonna give you when I talked.
Yeah,
to you.
yeah.
Our ordinance was passed with none but the 5 that are on the National Register included under its the coverage of the ordinance. None of those properties, even, they're listed, we have them. But they were not put into the ordinance. So one by one, we file applications. Homeowners can file an application, or we can file an application. So we have been filing applications. I think how many, Connie gave us a rundown of where everything was at, but how many we
They're
filed?
before the board now.
Okay, so that if there was a historic residence in your neighborhood, it probably has not been included yet, you can talk to the homeowner. They can file an application to be included in the ordinance, or you can do it as part of the commission.
I don't think 1955 homes are part of the.
No,
Not yet.
it's 75 years. Our ordinance says
Almost.
at least 75 years.
So they're
one
very
more year.
close.
What-
Yes, no, that's not.
What you bring up, Joe, brings up another aspect of this. I mean, we are dealing with historical resources, right? But the idea to put something completely new next to an historical resources is what is called the cultural landscape around historical resource. I don't know that we have, I don't know, you can answer to this. It's part of this. I'm just asking a question. Because it's not clear to me if we're just trying to protect the existence of those buildings as, buildings which are sitting on that land, or we can extend this also to the landscape around to maintain the integrity of the
Yeah,
appearance of it.
I think there are some things in the township code that allow us to weigh in on it. I don't know that it, I don't know of anything that gives the direction to the historic commission over that. I'd have to look again at the ordinance.
I guess just in looking at here, so you're talking property, so property is dirt and structure.
I
to me,
I
is the real-
understand. I
Yeah.
understand.
So that's why I was just.
You are correct.
Mhm.
The issue is to where is the limit of this?
Mhm.
Just the building or the land around it?
It's not inconceivable that the outer limits of our reach could include a historic landscape, but I don't know that we have anything under consideration like that currently.
Yeah.
No, the full language that includes that is in our original ordinance that we drafted. And that was probably 17 years ago. And then updated and changed and modified. So if we choose to do that, the landscape, all that language is in there. And that's what I would use as a guide when you want to add things, because it was much more broad scope and covered all that. So those are things when we review the ordinance, that's what.
Yep.
And the older one, that's where you can get your information from. And I have the copies of the other 2 from other townships that do have
But
that.
in the short run,
Yes.
let's focus on what we already know about. Then we can get into the mid-century modern classics. So as far as this brochure goes, do we want to have everybody take it home and review it and suggest additions or changes, or do we want to just kind of accept it as it is and then start trying to get it hammered out to be something that we can actually get printed?
Well, I,
2 pages.
Yeah, we could,
That's how we look at it.
we could certainly.
yeah, but we might want to add,
Change going on.
Donna, as a realtor, she might have some suggestions for benefits to homeowners. We've had a lot of people that come in under the assumption that this is going to ruin their chance to sell their house or their scare off buyers, and and that's what we need to, and we need to educate the public, and that's part of the problem.
Actually, several studies show that increases the property value.
Yes,
and the value.
I know, and
But-
they still come in and
Well, that's
beg
why-
you not to do it.
That's why I
Anyone
had
can
owning
bring
a
it
historic
up,
resource can be an
mitigate
investment.
Yes.
it.
I did add some other things to it.
You like that?
She did. But yeah, I would like to just
Yeah.
peruse it, but then.
Yeah. Well,
I did like the use of the old photos rather than trying to
Mhm.
yeah.
present what we have today, which might be more challenging without.
So I did take most of these off of, well, the two that are here. I had other
I
ones,
know.
but, I didn't want to like congest it with a lot of images because I wanted to make sure that the context was not overshadowed. I know, if you guys have any other suggestions for the back sides, I just
If
wanted
we-
to get the content that we
If we
had.
don't get an
displayed.
additional 2 panels, then we
Sure.
perhaps make it a 4-panel instead of a 6. I don't know if we need to have more information on here on how to contact the township or
The
additional
process,
township information.
Ooh,
So that,
file the application.
you know what? I like that to put on, the back side of it. You know,
How to, how to
how to
contact the township.
contact or apply
or the
or
content, yeah.
process
Just,
that we go
just a
through.
quick question. I
Yeah.
mean, some are historical pictures, so things don't exist anymore, like this stretch of a road clearly in. paper.
So,
Yeah.
I did like that only because.
Oh, no, I like
the
it.
2 middle ones.
No, I
that
like it.
exist
I like-
Do still exist and that's,
Fine, I like it.
yeah.
Let me finish it. One is a private house.
Mhm.
The James Price house, I think it's privately owned. Do you have a permission from the owner to put things on a public, things like that, or not?
This is off of, realtor.com and I just made it look
Oh,
old.
I understand it, but
I
I'm
don't
sure
know
that,
that I'm
I understand
violating
it, but they
any
gave it when it was
privacy act.
listed,
We have this book, it's our tour guide, it has
Okay.
their
I'm
addresses,
just saying it.
their pictures and their addresses,
I'm
and
just
we're
saying.
redoing it for Historic Day, so they're all gonna be on there.
I know it's
Drive
visible,
by.
I know it's visible from the street, you can take a picture
That's all
from the
you do.
street, it's nothing, okay, that's fine,
Think Hollywood,
okay.
drive by
We'll
the
have,
the
we'll have,
famous people.
before it's printed, I'll have it reviewed to make sure we don't have any issues, but I think there are.
And that's.
Because we
that's
get
what I'm
this
saying,
out.
you
No, I know it's
Drive by.
visible from the street, anybody can take a picture there, it should be fine, it's on Google Map, it's everywhere. But sometimes, just to incentivize things to have a good relationship with the homeowner, maybe it would be nice just to tell them, I said,
Sure.
your house is gonna be on it, they might be proud, it would be a pride for them, I don't know, they may be happy about that.
Can't even see this.
Yeah, I know. This one, I don't know, they were also.
So the logo is
The house.
be in color, I think.
Oh, it's.
The aesthetics of it
I
was
didn't know
just
that.
showing the
I know
old
this.
photos was just
The Giuliani.
because of I wanted to put buildings that are currently still standing, but what they look like in, historically, so that people could actually see the relevance of, oh, wow, that's what it looked like. This is what it looks like today. It still exists, just the comparison of the two, because there are a lot of images that I looked at that the buildings are no longer there. And then what's the relevancy of that? But
We have those in our brochures. And we have them everywhere, and I think, what are they?
yeah.
The
bridge,
bridge, the
square
school, the
tavern,
octagonal schoolhouse.
St. David's Church,
St. David's
Paper
Church.
Mill House, Octagonal School.
And the Square Tavern is
Yeah.
on it
But
also, yes.
They're hard to get. You have to stand on that little medial strip. That's what people do. Jump 252. But looking at our brochure for the Historical Society is all color, all the 5. They've been put out there and everybody kind of knows those. And to segue into what we're doing for Historic Day on our program book, we're going to try to do the preservation of the historic Newtown Square as our theme. But within that, we're going to put more of the places in Newtown Square that people don't necessarily know or see and have those photographs. Sort of like we did with this tour guide book, or we didn't, but they did a wonderful job back in the 90s with this. And there's many, like the Fox Chase Inn, and people are like, where's that? They don't even know. Goshen Road, there's houses up and down it, and they're all listed in there. And we wanted to bring those to the forefront because those are many that we're trying to preserve. Those 5 are safe, so we have them, and they're a prominent thing that we do. But we want to bring and educate. So we were going to do the Historic Commission, the Historic Preservation Ordinance, and all that will be in our program book, and it's a big book. You've probably seen it. It's the one we put out every year. So that will include all the well-known ones. So we were trying, I think it was a great idea to include ones that people see but
So-
don't know.
So for this, do you want to add in some new things and
Yeah.
and leave it open for the month? And if anybody thinks of something that they'd like to see in it or like to discuss putting in it, can you send an email to Tiffany? And then we'll revisit this next month.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna add the things we
How to
mentioned,
apply, how to-
process to apply,
Where to
how
find
to
it? Yeah,
contact the commission. I'm gonna add a link to the ordinance as well. In case people are curious.
I like it.
And you can actually probably put the Wyola today.
Do you have this electronically? Can be
It's on the
circulated
Mhm.
as a file?
Because it's still there
Um,
and people.
So
might
if we have
think,
to make an
"Yeah,
annotation or
it's in-
suggestions, it's easier.
I had, that's
I
what.
mean, this will be paper,
I
but
mean,
Some, this is
you can
the-
type it in.
Okay.
backside,
All
what
right,
it looks like today.
then I guess if we're good on that, we'll move past that for now.
Mhm.
And we'll go on to discussion regarding community outreach. We got a committee for that? Or what we were discussing?
Isn't that our committee?
What?
Yeah.
Was that still our committee?
No, that's not our committee. At
Okay.
least I didn't think it was.
No, it is. No, I think we discussed, we talked about what events we wanted to have a presence at
Uh-huh.
in 2024. But a lot of that hinged on marketing material and time and resources, but I don't know that there's more that we wanted to discuss today.
Okay. Why don't we visit that next month as well? Before we leave old business, I know that there was some discussion about revisiting 3201 since we were unable to come to any resolution on that in the last meeting. We want to touch base on that, or can we touch base on that since it's not currently on our list?
You even ask. 20%.
We want to,
You
we want to
had, I mean, the
So-
way that went down, as I understood it, was that you had a vote, you couldn't get,
we took no action.
you basically were unable to get a vote, which means it was denied at that point, because that's,
So you're saying yes is yes, no is no, and no action is no?
Yeah,
well, not that it was no action, because you actually took a vote. And your vote was not enough to pass.
Correct.
And because it was not enough to pass, that becomes a no vote. Does that, I mean, like, if there's a difference between putting it on and saying, at this time, we're gonna take no action. And then you can vote to take no action, and that's a no action vote. That's very different. What the vote was that you actually did was that you actually, you actually took a vote. I believe you were 3 votes yes and 3 votes no. Is that right?
Yes, and you advised us we needed 4, one way or the other, to do anything.
Yes. And because I actually went through I actually reached out to the solicitor while we were doing it. And so because of that, you didn't have the 4, it was considered a no vote. So what you could do is and you can't do it tonight because it's not on the agenda, but you could come back and vote to relook at it at some time. Although because you're actually starting it up fresh, as so to speak, I would argue that you would need to vote to put it on your agenda to take a look at in the future and then take the vote.
Okay, so the position we want to take tonight is, let's put this discussion on our agenda for next time, because I think
To
having,
be a property to consider taking a look at,
yes,
not to actually vote on it at the next.
yes.
meeting.
Let's
Okay.
put it on to discuss rediscussing it or
And then-
reapplying it, because
Yeah,
I think where we stand right now, the property is more at risk than if we had done nothing,
Yes.
okay.
because I don't know that
That was,
the
yeah.
township would notify us on it, since there's a record that we've not done anything with it.
Remind me the property
Yeah.
address again,
3201,
3401 Westchester.
3201.
3201
Yep.
Westchester.
3201.
And perhaps we refrain from taking votes when we,
Well, that
Probably
was a
don't have
learning
enough.
experience. I mean, that,
didn't
that
know
we did,
that.
yeah,
now we know.
exactly.
So if we only have
But
four,
we can only discuss it next time. We can't vote.
that's correct.
We can make a motion to reapply. Right?
You're going to basically go back. Remember how we did it before they were on a list?
Yeah.
That's
You're gonna
what-
take
yeah.
it through that process.
Put another application in?
You would vote first to whether or not you wanted to consider doing that, then you would apply, you would put the application in and then go again.
But we did vote when it was under the
Right,
guide of this book. We voted all those, and that was one of,
I know, but then you
Yeah, but
took a
we've-
vote that was no.
Yeah.
we've kind of invalidated that now.
You took a vote that was no. I'm saying to you,
so
come
we don't need
back.
another application.
Huh?
We don't need to put another
Yeah,
application.
you not to do this. What you're gonna do is you're gonna have it on the agenda for your next meeting.
Okay.
To determine whether or not you want to have an application submitted to start the process.
Okay.
Then you will do that, then you'll take that step. Then you can resubmit the same application and start over, but then it would go
Well, we just
from,
want the notification to go back out to them.
and that's how the
That moves
application.
this process along.
Right,
yes.
but it has to, you have to have the actual vote to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll put it back in our queue, and we can decide what we want to do with it.
Yes, I mean, because you may choose as a group to say, no, we don't want to spend any time on it, or you may say, yes, you want to.
Can we, so. Would we be able to, and I don't know if we need to reach out to Heather specifically to make sure that when it goes on the agenda, that the information that we had available with it gets added to the agenda, because I believe Donna and Ken and Rosario were not here, so they don't have the same information that we have already.
We should be able to do that.
I'm going to rack my brain around. We did decide unanimously it was appropriate to have an application. We voted because of the comments from the audience.
Yes.
Yes.
So we already decided that it's.
We
Yeah,
have
but you
appropriate
voted it
under
down, so
Plan
it's
But we
got
have
to
to have
start over
amnesia.
the process.
We have to have amnesia.
Yes, we have to have amnesia that never happened, start over again.
By not reaching a conclusion, we've essentially said no.
Okay.
So,
Been inside of
Has
the
anyone
house?
toured that house?
No, we're not. We're not, I don't want to say interested, but our purview is the exterior only. So the interior condition doesn't apply to us.
We know the contents. It's listed. It's on the Register of Historic Resources that the county made up in 1990s. So, and it's all documented, the interior, and people have been in it. We have not. So yeah, we were aware.
If you watch last month's YouTube of the meeting, the representative discussed a lot of the challenges in the interior, if you want to go back and look at that. But again, that's not what we're advising on.
Is it a historic building or isn't it?
okay, well then, for the sake of that, we'll request that go onto the agenda for
That's
next.
good.
Yep.
And then that brings us back to public comments. We don't have public here today, so let's note that there's no one to talk with.
Yep.
And I guess
So
I
the
jumped the gun, because
the
items for the next agenda.
items for the next agenda, I have 9.1. We're going to, the application's been submitted and we'll hopefully have that on the list to hear. And then we're going to look at updated brochure, any other changes that have been made. We're going to include the discussion regarding outreach, and then we are going to review and decide whether we want to submit a
Revisit.
new application for 3201 Westchester Pike.
That is what I know of.
And then just add the Historic Day program book, because it will include input from us in terms of writing articles for it.
Yep.
Because it's going to center on preservation, so it'll be a lot of information.
Mhm.
So,
All right. Is there anything else we need to discuss tonight? I get a motion to adjourn.
So before you do that, I
Yep.
just want to throw something out to you. So do you have cleared who the committee is that's your outreach and article publication committee? I was a little confused when you talked, and I didn't know, with Connie going off, was she one of the members, and do you need to appoint somebody to that committee?
This raises a good point. Do we have a list of what committees we have and who's on it?
You know what? I will make a list of what committees we have. They're all in the minutes, so
I know our
Just have to-
committee, the applications.
go back and review.
Once we have that list, can we forward it to?
Yeah,
someone?
if you give us the list, we'll forward it to everybody.
Yeah, that would be
And
great.
then you can have it, and then you can discuss that at your next meeting to make sure that you, because I think Connie was on a couple different committees. And now that Connie's not here, you need to decide, do you want some, I think it's appropriate with having new members, you may have new committees. That's what I'm, new members on committees.
So we can put that on the agenda for next month as well.
Yep, so that's
Review
what
and
I was
discuss
getting at.
committees. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Thank you. That was a fine idea.
I have one every once in a while.
Oh, I think you're selling yourself short. Then if there are no other things we should discuss, can I motion that we adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I get to use the hammer. We are adjourned.
Thank you.